Climate change, specifically anthropogenic or man-made climate change, is real. We know it's real because there's an overwhelming consensus among climate scientists that it is real. But apparently we need to keep saying why and how we know, so welcome to this exasperated and pleading version of 5 and 5, the series where I go over 5 scientific papers in 5 minutes or more. The most often cited paper quantifying the consensus surrounding anthropogenic climate change is this one, Quantifying the Consensus on Anthropogenic Global Warming in the Scientific Literature, published in Environmental Research Letters in 2013 by Cook et al. And it's probably where the 97% statistic you've heard before came from. The researchers examined nearly 12,000 abstracts from peer-reviewed scientific climate literature, and found that of the roughly 4,300 abstracts that expressed an opinion on, in this case, anthropogenic global warming, just over 97% of them endorsed the concept, while half of 1% rejected it. We also have this paper from Powell, Climate Scientists Virtually Unanimous, Anthropogenic Global Warming is True, published in the Bulletin of Science, Technology, and Society, which critiques the Cook paper for viewing the lack of an explicit endorsement as the authors having no opinion. Instead, Powell argues, authors who choose to write about global warming in a peer-reviewed journal must have evidence bearing on the subject, and if that evidence casts doubt on it being man-made, that would be the point of the paper. When Powell looked for such authors, he found that only 4 out of 69,406 rejected anthropogenic global warming. Next, we have an article written for Science. That's the magazine, not the philosophical concept, by Naomi Oreskes in 2005, which reports the opinions of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the National Academy of Sciences, the American Meteorological Society, the American Geophysical Union, and the American Association for the Advancement of Science, who have all issued statements that evidence for human modification of the climate is compelling. But you knew that already. You're aware of the consensus and maybe even the specifics of what the actual studies say, increasing global temperatures alongside man-made CO2 emissions and the environmental impact it's already having. What I'm more interested in is how such an obvious truth is routinely and gleefully denied by people overwhelmingly on one side of the political spectrum. In Trust in Scientists on Climate Change and Vaccines, from Sage Open and published in 2015, researchers looked at how political ideology and education affect trust in the scientific community. They found that Democrats were overwhelmingly more likely to trust scientific opinion on both climate change and vaccines, which goes against at least one anecdotal stereotype. While the Tea Party, remember them? Remember when we thought they were the worst the right had to offer? Was the least likely to trust in either topic's scientific consensus. They also highlight a study that showed conservatives don't oppose all science, just science that highlights negative externalities from economic growth. Whether or not they think something is true depends on if they agree with it. Finally, we have The Influence of Political Leaders on Climate Change Attitudes, published in Global Environmental Change in 2018. This study looked at whether or not the opinions of political leaders could sway voters toward or away from scientific consensus in Australia. They found that public opinion on key climate change issues is strongly polarized along party lines, and that this polarization is accentuated when cued to a party leader's position. However, this also means that if leaders can reach a consensus, their supporters could also converge towards the science and escape the gridlock currently halting any progress. If you want to argue with a climate change denier, well, first, bless you, you noble idiot. Those first 3 papers would seem like a good place to start. But convincing these people isn't as simple as pointing out facts. They don't work like that. To them, facts are only true if they like what they say, and if it hinders endless economic growth, they don't like it. Instead, appeal to the economic side of the argument. Find statistics on green energy job creation. Point out the devastation caused in Appalachian communities by the fossil fuel industry. Look up the Podholer 54 videos on a conservative solution to climate change. If you present a solution that allows capitalists to make more money, suddenly there exists a problem to solve. Beyond that, do what you can to influence world leaders. Well, failing that, influence the people closest to you. Have conversations with friends, family, and coworkers who don't believe in climate change, and be vocal in your acceptance of the scientific consensus and the reasoning that got you there. For some people, just hearing the case for anthropogenic climate change laid out calmly by someone they trust is enough to sway them away from whatever toxic and flimsy rhetoric led them to deny it in the first place. You can change minds, and the truth is on our side. Thanks, and good luck. Hey, I might actually keep this under 5 minutes, so if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and if you want to, please support me on Patreon. Thank you very much. Have a good day.